Hello, welcome back to Retirement Clarity Radio. I am your host, Scott Newhouse. Really excited that you're here as we wrap up our series on estate planning. Before we jump into that, though, I just want to keep on reiterating, this is a podcast that you can find on any podcast platform. When you search in Retirement Clarity Radio, you can also see me talk about this on YouTube at Retirement Clarity Radio. And then if you want to read it, you can go to my blog, forthrightfinances.com, and then click on blog, and then you'll be able to read essentially what I'm talking about. It's a rough transcript of what I'm talking about on today's episode. But without any further ado, let's wrap up estate planning. We've talked about what is the basics of estate planning. That was our first episode. Then we also talked about the differences between a will and a trust, and sometimes people get those confused, so it was important to go through all of that. Then we've also talked about what is probate and why would we want to avoid probate in the future. So if you have any questions or if you missed those, I would really encourage you to go back and listen to them just so you got that basic understanding of what's going into your estate plan. Now today we're going to be talking about something a little different, but it's still in the estate planning realm, and that is advanced medical directives, advanced healthcare directives. There's a lot of synonymous terms for it, but essentially broadly what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be making decisions potentially for ourselves in the future right now when we're healthy. So in other words, you get to lay out what you want to happen to you in terms of your health care right now if you do your estate plan properly. And then in the future, no one kind of has to make those decisions for you. So let's just talk about that. In terms of estate planning, this is one of the most important things I think you need to do is to lay out what happens to your health later on in life. And now this is obviously in the event that you are not mentally able to make this decision for yourself, which sadly happens to a number of people. I mean, I know people that have experienced this. My guess is, if you think about your friends or family or acquaintances, people who are not mentally able to make those decisions for themselves later on in life. So it's going to happen, and it may happen to us. So instead of it being up to someone else and having them make those decisions, what you can do instead is you can lay out your healthcare wishes now while you're healthy and of good mental capacity. So there's two main ways that we can make those healthcare decisions in the future, and specifically your healthcare directives. The first option we have is that you can name the person or the people that will make the right choices for you, and you don't necessarily feel the need to outline every single situation for them. And so, you'll name someone, your spouse, child, as that healthcare agent, and then they will make those specific decisions for you. That's our first option. And an alternate to that is that you can communicate your wishes of what you want to happen to you to the people that you name in those healthcare documents. And so you could do that verbally, for instance. Although I don't love verbal communication because, man, it's tough to remember things for years and decades, and hopefully we don't want anything to get lost in translation or to be forgotten via memory. So I don't like verbal communication on this. Let's write it down. But anyways, if you are comfortable either, just giving your wishes to someone or naming someone and having them make those full decisions for you, that's great. All you need to do is name that one person or multiple people to make those healthcare decisions for you. Our second option, and this is what we're going to be talking about today, is that you, right now, in good health, good mental capacity, are going to make those decisions and detail what your wishes would be if you are ever in a place where you cannot speak for yourself. So if you want to lay out specific directions right now while you're healthy, you will definitely want to address these 8 healthcare questions that I have outlined here below in this podcast. So again, this episode's for people who want to name specifically what they want to happen to them if they are not of mental capacity, but make those wishes known while they are healthy right now. So let's get into the 8 different healthcare questions that you can answer so that in the future it's not going to be up to chance, or it's not going to be up to someone else's discretion. The first one is the big one, end of life decisions. How long should the doctors and nurses try to keep you alive? Do you want to take all measures to keep your life going under all circumstances? Do you want to let them try and help you recover for a few weeks or months, but when they in their professional capacity say, hey, they're not going to come back, they're not going to, get back to themselves after this? Do you want to have them not prolong your life in that circumstance? Now, there's obviously going to be a lot of emotions to this, and there's more nuances and more options here. But the point is that you can dictate what you want to happen at the end of your life so that you get the treatment or you don't get the treatment that you want or that you don't want. Because again, we don't want to be in a situation where you're in some kind of tough, potentially vegetative state or some kind of state where it's iffy on if you're going to come back or not. You may not come back, and the doctors, I hate to say this so crassly, but the doctors have to know when to pull the plug. And so you can lay out those directions right now while you're healthy. And so that's one really big decision that you can make right now. Second big decision that you need to make, or at least think about, is artificial nutrition and hydration. In some circumstances, receiving artificial nutrition and hydration can prolong your life. Now, the question you might need to ask is, do you want to receive that permanently? Do you want to receive that for a limited time period to see if you can improve? Or do you not want to receive it at all? That's obviously up to you, but that could be added into your healthcare directives in terms of your estate plan. The third question that you can consider adding in here is relief from pain. This one's really straightforward, is do you want to receive pain relief while you're going through all of this? Or do you personally want to avoid it? Up to you, but you can list that out in your healthcare directives as well. The next one, the fourth one, is anatomical gifting at death. Do you want to leave your organs behind to benefit others? You can choose to be a transplant, you can choose to give it to therapy or research or education, and you can name the specific organization if you have one in mind that you want it to go to. So if you're of the mind of, hey, take whatever you want, I don't need it anymore, that's fine. Then you might select that all of your organs be donated and used in some way, in some capacity. But on the other hand, if you're feeling, boy, I'm again, sorry for being graphic, but if you're feeling, Scott, I don't want to be cut up, then fine, that's great. Then you get to list that in your healthcare directives as well. So that's our fourth thing to think about in terms of your healthcare directives. The fifth one is an autopsy. And so do you want to have an autopsy done for sure when you pass away, or do you want that to be left up to your healthcare agent, a physician, or someone else to be able to make that decision for you? The sixth item that you can add into your healthcare directives is mental health treatment. So some examples of mental health include admission to and retention at a mental health facility, some kind different types of medication, different types of treatment. There's really a lot there, and so you've got to ask yourself, do you want to decline mental health treatment in all instances, or do you want to leave it up to your healthcare agent to decide or your physician to decide? And again, this is assuming that, especially in terms of mental health, you're not able to make those decisions for yourself. So mental health treatment can also be added onto this list. Our second to last one, the seventh one we have, is funeral, burial, and cremation plans. So do you have any wishes for your funeral? Do you want it to be held in a certain place? Do you want certain songs to be sung? Music to be played? You can write this down so that your friends and family can follow your wishes. Now, in terms of whether you want to be buried or cremated, you can also put those in your healthcare directives as well, and I would recommend that if you fill out all of these questions. Lastly, and this is a really good point, I know some folks that I know have prepaid for their funeral and their burial. So if you have prepaid, it would be a really good idea to include that information in these documents, like where's your burial lot, how much have you paid, what does it look like, etc. And that would be great information to have in there as well. The last thing I have for us today is number 8, is our physical health treatment. So some examples of physical health treatment include CPR, mechanical breathing, major surgeries, kidney dialysis, chemo, diagnostic tests, antibiotics, blood products. Are you okay with whatever needs to be done here in terms of your physical treatment, or do you want to decline any physical treatments? Maybe 1 or 2, maybe a number of them. That's obviously up to you. Or again, you can have your healthcare agent decide. And so that really covers the 8 key questions that you need to at least consider when you outline your healthcare directives. And again, going back to what I said at the beginning, you can either name someone right now as your healthcare agent and just have them make all of these decisions. If you're comfortable with that, that is fine. It's your choice. But if you want more control over what's going to happen to you and you don't want to, make your son, spouse, whoever make those decisions for you, then you can lay it out right now in your estate plan and just put it into your healthcare directives. It's really easy. A qualified attorney can absolutely help you do this. As we wrap up estate planning, I've got to say, most people need help with their estate plan as you approach retirement. It's really one thing that you really don't want nagging on your mind in terms of, boy, I know I need to do this, but I haven't gotten it done yet. You got to get it done. You just have to do it. I can't reiterate that anymore. I can't say it with any more urgency than it's probably one of the top 1 or 2 or 3 things that you absolutely have to do before you retire. Now, as I've said before on this podcast, if you would like my help in creating your own retirement plan, in addition to that, I actually work with a national estate planning firm, and we can put together your estate plan, which would cover all of these 8 questions, as well as all of the other things I've talked about in these other episodes. So if you are interested in getting all of that done and making sure that you can have a comfortable and confident retirement, just go to startmyretirement.us. Again, that's startmyretirement.us. You can read a little bit about my process, find a time for us to have a call, and then we see if we are a good fit to work together, and if so, then we'll get to work on creating everything for you. So that's all I've got for this episode. Really am glad that you tuned in, and I really, again, can't say with enough urgency, make sure you get your estate planning needs taken care of. All right, everybody, have a great week. Bye. Thanks again for listening. As a reminder, you should consult with a financial advisor familiar with the specific circumstances of your unique financial situation before making any financial decisions. Nothing in this podcast is a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Any mentions of rate of return are hypothetical in nature and not a guarantee of future returns. Scott Newhouse, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Forthright Finances, a California and Nevada registered investment advisor.